Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, my friends. Today is Tremor Day. So Tremor is now live in Mortal Kombat 1, and he's the first of our DLC cameos, and well, he's going to be adding a lot to the game. So let's go over everything Tremor. Let's talk about, the core basics of the cameo and also a lot of the fun things that he adds to the game. So first off, just in case if you do not know, the reason why Tremor is a big deal, other than he is a beloved character and the beginning of the "your main is a cameo" meme, because I did play Tremor in MKX and this sucks, but I'm still happy he's here. But yeah, he is the first cameo with variations. So you can see here, we're in Aftershock. He also has Metallic, and he also has Crystalline. So these were the variations he had in Mortal Kombat X. And the thing that makes these variations extra cool compared to the normal cameos, this means he has more moves than everybody else as far as cameos go. He has 3 distinct moves in Aftershock. He has 4 moves in Metallic. We have variations of Lava Blast, 1 horizontal, 1 vertical, and also his projectile shot here. One's a low, and if you hold the button, the other one's an overhead. And I can tell you, there ain't too many overhead projectiles in this game, so that's extra cool and handy. We also have Crystalline. So Crystalline, one of the things about it here, he has a basic punch shot here, and it's also a reflector. So if people are spamming projectiles at you, Tremor says, nah, and he sends them flying right back at the enemy. That's always a handy trait to have. And what's a really handy trait to have is armor. So while your armor's up, nothing can knock you down, nothing can launch you. It'll still hurt a little bit. It ain't free, but it won't do as much damage as it otherwise would have done. And bonus, it does last multiple hits. So normally that whole string would have launched me and comboed out, and nah. With Tremor, you can just tank through the whole thing. Once again, you will flinch. It's not quite super armor, it's a different property, but it'll definitely save your life. Okay, so Tremor has a lot of moves, that's great. Well, it is great, right? It actually is fantastic. But some of the other things, so variation switching. So his variation switch is an ambush. It doesn't cost you any meter. You can do it whenever you want. It does follow a fixed order. When you start the match, you're always going to start in Aftershock, and always go to Metallic, and then always go into Crystalline. However, if you just simply hit down in Kameo instead of regular Kameo, you can go in reverse order. So basically, you always have the one you want, right? If you're in Aftershock and you want to go to Metallic, just hit regular Kameo. If you're in Aftershock and want to go into Crystalline, hit down in Kameo. So that's fine, right? It's just an ambush call. You can do whatever else. It is legitimately not that big of a deal. The one thing I do want to note, so if Tremor gets hit while he's changing his variation, he'll get hit, but he will still change the variation. The only way he will not is if you call him exactly as the hit comes. That way he will still be in the original variation, right? So if he gets attacked like right as he's switching from Aftershock into whatever else, he'll still be in Aftershock. However, that shouldn't come up too often, but it is something to be aware of. That if he gets hit immediately, then no switch. If he gets hit when he's even out a little bit, you'll still get the switch. Just keep that in mind. And now here's the fun part, right? So all these cool moves that I showed you, they're all summons. Meaning your character has to take the pose, let Tremor do his thing. But it doesn't have to be that way. So when you switch Tremor, it's an ambush call, right? And if you go into whatever move directly after that, then you get an ambush call on that move. So that overhead projectile we showed earlier, no, right out of the gate. And it can be right out of the gate here while I'm flying forward with Natara, because it's an ambush. I can do whatever I want. The thing is, instead of taking half the bar now, if you do whatever move you're going to do as an ambush call, just switch the variation and switch to whatever move you want in that variation. Then it will take all the meter instead of just half the meter. But still, say if you're in Aftershock, that means on demand, I can have overhead projectile, or on demand, I can have my crystalline armor, right? It takes all the meter. It's not free. It means basically, though, no matter what, you're always going to have powerful options. The only time it will not work is, say, if I'm already in Crystalline, then I have to do the summon for the armor, right? I have to switch into Crystalline or whatever variation to get the ambush variation of it. However, if you are on the ball enough, you can do whatever string, whatever combo, and do this while this is happening, because once again, it is all an ambush. So do string, do special, and while I'm doing that, I can still call Tremor and get my crystalline armor ready for pressure or whatever after the fact. or I can do whatever string into whatever combo. As I'm recovering, I can call Tremor and have him set up and have a projectile waiting for you as you're waking up, right? There's a lot of options and a lot of cool things to play around with. Now, to talk some of the moves here. So Aftershock, the base one for Kameo Call, is just a big old rock punch, right? And by itself, like, it just splats the enemy. There's no enhanced combo ability or anything like that. But what's really good is on block, if you're in the stance, it's -5. You know, never going to be negative, but look at the pushback. It's intense. Like, it's negative, sure, but once again, -5 from this far away is a suggestion. You're not beholden to -5 in any way from this far away. Also really good, not every string, but a lot of strings, it does jail. So you can see here, Natara is going for her reversal frame 1, and there's just no gap for her to go into reversal, say, versus a weaker string she could, right? So depending on the character, depending on your strings, you can also use this as a free, just neutral reset, right? You did your string, okay, I didn't get my hit confirm, oh well, push you all the way back, let's try this again. So that's really, really good. Up Kameo Call is just a basic mid launcher, always handy, always welcome. Lots of characters can make hay with this, right? It's always a useful trait to have. You're never going to be sad you're going to have a launcher. Like, at worst, it'll just give you some more damaging combo routes, like easy 41% for General Shao. Not too shabby, right? And his back Kameo Call is basically the old style Quake, right? And you're going to look at this paper, oh, 27 frames, that's not no good. No, it is actually really good, right? It's 27 frames, which you think is not the fastest, but that's still less than half a second, right? It does have some good range to it. It's not quite full screen. You can see here from roughly that far away, it'll whiff, but from here, it'll connect. So a little bit more than half screen. And keep in mind, 27 frame startup, sure, but there's no travel time. This thing hits on frame 1. The majority of other ranged options in this game, fireballs, projectiles, whatever have you, they are going to travel a bit, and that travel time takes frames, right? And, you know, it might say whatever startup it'll say, but it doesn't take into account the travel time for the frames. This happens, the frame 1 is active, right? So 27 frames hits frame 1 in neutral. I think it's pretty all right, especially because, you know, it's about 75 damage, 7.5% roughly. Decent knockback, run forward pressure, whatever, right? Like, it's not bad. This is absolutely a move that will catch people sleeping. And if it's blocked, it's another one of those whatever deals, -12 from the range you should use it at. Not too bad. And also, if you're just hurting for a low, it's a low, right? So if you got a lot of overheads but not so much lows, just a welcome tool in the arsenal. Now, metallic is also fun in that if you're just looking for pokes in neutral, once again here, just like we talked about earlier with the ground pound and Aftershock, the initial lava burst from Tremor, it's slower, 29 frames, but hits frame 1, and it has a lot of range. You can see here at the absolute peak range, it'll hit frame 6, but other than the absolute most peak range, it'll hit frame 1. So if you're just looking for a good mid poke, that's it. And once again, it's a true mid, so no ducking under this bad boy. And also, we talk about stuff on block, it's +4 on block. Now, generally speaking, unlike, say, the Aftershock punch, the forward punch, you're going to have gaps regardless of the string because it is just a little bit slower, right? But still, being able to convert anything into, like, okay, I definitely have plus frames, not bad. Like, you can always rest assured after that, it's your advantage. Now, the upburst is a little hard to play around with, to be honest with you. This is always going to be character dependent, but certain strings with certain characters you think would play well, not so much, basically. Not to say it's impossible, right? Just you need the right setup, like, say, being in the corner. It is going to be one of those ones where I think it's going to be very character to character, but I also think this is going to be one of those ones where it's going to be really the benefit of the ambush system, where you can just do it on demand. And I think you can create some pretty crazy combos that way, because the ability to just, like, launch as an ambush is pretty rare, right? Most of the good launchers are summons. So perhaps in Metallic, just doing it as it is, as a summon in the middle of a combo, maybe not as attractive, but it's definitely something to lab around with and play around with, that you can do a big launcher, air launch like this just on demand. I think that might be pretty interesting. Maybe it won't be as good as, like, Sonya or something like that, right? But, you know, Sonya doesn't offer all these million other things Tremor does, so play around with it, I guess, see how it works. And just finally, the projectile. So one, the ground projectile, the low, it's a low, is also plus even point blank. So that's really handy. It is not a bad projectile in and of itself, owns a lot of the real estate, as you can see here. And just having more lows generally, you know, having an option for a low projectile besides Lao is not bad. And obviously Lao can't exactly throw his hat over your head and hit you as an overhead. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And hey, speaking of Lao, we all love Lao. Low hat gives us all the gimmicks, right? Keep in mind, as an ambush call, this gives you low overhead as an ambush. So here I am, General Shao, kind of known for the whole low overhead gimmick, right? So say I do any combo into the knee, right? Which is going to happen because this is how Shao plays. So quick combo here, right? Hey, let's call our boy Tremor. Did you block low overhead fast enough? I bet you didn't. Especially if that's the first time you ever saw it, right? And there's going to be a million billion gimmicks like that. So being able to on-demand ambush with a low or on-demand ambush with an overhead, and the overhead will take some spacing, I'm sure, but we'll figure out the setups. That's going to be greasy. Like Trailer Park Boys, greasy, greasy. So I'm trying to impart upon you, yo, Tremor's going to have the mix, right? Just Metallic alone, let alone everything else that we've shown you so far, is going to be great. And of course, this Crystalline, right? Now, here's the thing. The Crystalline, just base attack, is not amazing. It's only 6%. It could stand to be like 7-8%. It does reflect, which is great, right? Especially for characters that have no ability to reflect anything at all. That's not bad. But obviously, the breadwinner is the armor. That is the whole reason you're going to be going to Crystalline at all, right? Now, we already mentioned a bunch of things about Crystalline. It lets you tank multiple hits. It's not true super armor in that you do flinch, but you do take less damage, and you can't be juggled or knocked down. Another thing to note that's actually pretty alright is the fact that you also cannot be thrown while this is up. And naturally, it should go without saying, you cannot be low, and you cannot be overheaded either, right? So, total defense. And you can see here, that was the sweep of Natar as well, didn't knock down. So you are basically just the juggernaut. You can walk forward with mostly impunity. If you get hit, you'll take a little bit of damage, and you'll flinch a little bit. You're not going to like super armor and still keep your move going. But still, you can rest assured, you can basically play like a jerk while you have it up. And of course, once again, with the ambush factor, it takes the full meter, but having a very powerful Doomsday level armor, like, you know, Injustice Doomsday, on demand is not bad. It can absolutely be worth the full meter because the pressure you're able to get off it, even if it doesn't last that long, could be the game. So in the end, yeah, Tremor is pretty good. 1 Kameo, he has 3 attacks in Aftershock, he has 4 attacks in Metallic, and he has 2, well, not necessarily attacks, because armor's on attack, but he has 2 options in Crystalline, so he can just do more than other Kameos do. Some of the options are a little generic, like he has a mid-launcher. It's not the best mid-launcher, right? He has some pushback. It's not the best pushback, right? You know, he's got a mid-poke. It's not the best mid, but you add a lot of these things, the fact that he can do it whenever, and he can make every single one of these 10 different options he has, all of them can be done as an ambush on demand, and that is actually legitimately fantastic. I've given you a few ideas in this video, but absolutely hit the lab, because there's going to be so much that is possible with this guy. Once again, the fact that everything can be an ambush is bonkers, and we'll be figuring out some things for this character for a while to come, to be sure. But for now, that is our first day look, our overview, if you will, on Tremor, and I think Tremor's pretty damn cool. Will he overthrow Lao? Probably not, at least not for a while. You know, Striker, finally I've been saying Striker's praises since day 1, and people are starting to finally wake up to Striker as well, so we'll see who has the top dog cameo, you know, over the next following weeks and all that kind of stuff. But Tremor, I think, is worth investing some time into figuring out, because at the bare minimum, having options is always a good thing, and he just literally has the most options of all the cameos, so that's pretty good. But in the end, my friends, that is the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Mortal Kombat.